Good day, students. Welcome to week 2 of term 2 in JSS 1 CRS. Today we study one of the most remarkable figures in the Old Testament. David, shepherd, warrior, king, and psalmist, a man described by God himself as a man after his own heart. David's life is recorded primarily in 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, and the Psalms. His story spans many decades and contains both magnificent victories and painful failures, making it one of the most human and relatable stories in all of Scripture. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to describe David's early life as a shepherd, explain how David was anointed and why God chose him, recount the story of David and Goliath as a demonstration of trust in God, describe David's rise to kingship, and identify key lessons from his life. For young Nigerians today, David was born in Bethlehem, in the region of Judah, to a man named Jesse. He was the youngest of 8 sons. From childhood, David worked as a shepherd, caring for his father's flock of sheep in the hills around Bethlehem. Being a shepherd in ancient Israel was humble, physically demanding work. David spent long days and nights in the open fields, protecting his sheep from lions and bears. 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 36 tells us that David killed both lions and bears with his own hands when they attacked the flock. This experience built his courage, his skill with a sling, and, most importantly, his dependence on God. David also used his time in the fields to compose songs and poems. These became the Psalms. Psalm 23, "The Lord is my shepherd," was almost certainly written from David's lived experience as a shepherd himself. When King Saul disobeyed God and was rejected as king, God sent the prophet Samuel to Bethlehem to anoint a new king from Jesse's sons. Samuel came to Jesse's house. One by one, Jesse presented his 7 older sons. Each time, the Lord told Samuel, "This is not the one." Samuel was confused. These were tall, handsome, impressive men. But God said to Samuel in 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 7, "Do not look on his appearance or on the height of his stature. The Lord sees not as man sees, man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart." The most famous episode in David's early life is his battle with Goliath. The Philistines, enemies of Israel, had assembled their army for war. Among them was a giant warrior named Goliath of Gath. He was described as being nearly 3 meters tall, wearing heavy bronze armor, carrying an enormous spear. Every morning for 40 days, Goliath stood before Israel's army and shouted a challenge, "Send me a man to fight me." The entire Israelite army was paralyzed with fear, including King Saul. After Saul's death, David was made king, first over the tribe of Judah, then over all of Israel. He ruled for 40 years. He captured Jerusalem and made it the capital city. It became known as the City of David. God made a great covenant with David, recorded in 2 Samuel chapter 7. God promised that David's dynasty would last forever, and that from his line a king would come whose kingdom would have no end. Christians understand this as pointing directly to Jesus Christ, the Son of David, whose eternal kingdom fulfills every word of that covenant. David also brought the Ark of the Covenant to Jerusalem with great celebration, dancing before the Lord with all his might. What does David's life teach us? First, God chooses based on the heart, not outward appearance. Your background, family name, or physical size does not determine your destiny. Second, early faithfulness prepares you for greater challenges. David was faithful with sheep before he was faithful in battle. Young Nigerians who are diligent in their studies and honest in small things will be trusted with greater responsibilities. Third, trust in God gives boldness. When everyone else was afraid, David stood firm because he knew who was with him. Let us review what we covered. David was a shepherd from Bethlehem, the younger son of Jesse. God chose him as king because he looks at the heart, not outward appearance. 1 Samuel 16, verse 7. David trusted God and defeated the giant Goliath with a sling and a stone. 1 Samuel 17. David became king of all Israel and ruled for 40 years. God made an eternal covenant with David, 2 Samuel 7, fulfilled in Jesus Christ. For homework, read 1 Samuel 17 in full and write a one-page reflection. What gave David courage, and how can you apply this to a challenge you face today? Keep studying hard. Visit LightTech Academy at academy.lightech.com.ng for more. NERDC-approved lessons from JSS 1 to SS3. Powered by LightTech Solutions Limited. Nigeria's future is bright because of dedicated students like you. Until next time.